This is a feedlot. They exist for the sole purpose of preparing livestock for slaughter so that they may yield the highest amount of meat possible. They are a facet of the agricultural industry, which utilizes approximately 36% of the United States' total land mass. The agricultural industry in the United States is responsible for about 11% of the country's total greenhouse gas emissions, with the remaining 13%, 24%, 25%, and 27% coming from commercial and residential sources, industry, electricity, and transportation respectively. The emissions from the agriculture sector primarily consist of methane, which comes from fecal waste as well as the flatulence of livestock. While methane has a relatively shorter residence time than most greenhouse gases, it has a higher heat capacity, and thus a greater potency, with a warming power estimated to be 80 times greater than that carbon dioxide in the first 20 years. Furthermore, we are the second largest emitter of greenhouse gases, producing about 4,745 million metric tons, and are dwarfed only by China, who produces about 9,877 million metric tons. If nothing is done to curb these emissions, then the effects of climate change will become irreversible by 2030, eventually leading to our extinction. Fortunately, there is a way to reduce the carbon footprint of the meat industry. If we were to incorporate an alternative to meat into the average American diet, then we could decrease the emissions generated from feedlots. As of now, there are two potential contenders: a plant-based meat substitute produced by the company Impossible Foods, and cultured meat, which is lab-grown. As implied, Impossible Meat is a plant-based meat substitute that is supposed to replicate the taste and texture of meat to some degree. If we use the carbon footprint of the average vegetarian diet to approximate the carbon footprint of Impossible Meat, then it's predicted that a plant-based meat substitute will produce 32% less greenhouse gases, and utilize 70% less land. Additionally, substituting 50% of the total meat consumed in the average American diet would cause the emissions and land required to sustain said diet would decrease drastically.
Created using Powtoon.